to the channel of hats and nonsense. My mum got this for me, so I've got to wear it. But anyway, I've got a question for you. I'm on top of a mountain in Scotland and it's snowing, and I just thought, if I had to buy an Italian mid-engine V10 supercar, what would I pick? You've probably had the same question most days, haven't you? Anyway, would I pick a Huracan STO or Huracan Evo or the rear-wheel drive entry-level Huracan? Well, I'm here and my hat is here to tell you which you should get. So let's cut some B-roll, let's warm up and find out which Lamborghini Huracan is the best. Right, this is going to be a fairly short video because, well, they're all great, aren't they? But also I've not had a huge amount of time to film these. This one here on the left is your Bogo entry-level Huracan. This is a rear-wheel drive one, and it's also the cheapest. Ignore the fact that this is a Spider because that actually makes it slightly more expensive. But anyway, let's not make things confusing. This starts from £165,000 in hardtop form, which is 30 grand less than the four-wheel drive one. So as well as losing your front drive shafts, you also get it for a lot cheaper. It's got slightly less horsepower than the four-wheel drive one. It's only got 610 horsepower, and torque is down 90 newton meters on the four-wheel drive as well. So it's only 510 newton meters. God, how will you survive? And 0 to 62 miles an hour, it does it in 3.3 seconds, which is 0.4 seconds slower than a four-wheel drive one. It's got the same 201 mile an hour top speed. It will still get to 124 miles an hour in 9.3 seconds, which is ludicrous, really, isn't it? There are some visual differences. It's got a slightly different front bumper. There we go. This is the four-wheel drive one in the middle, the green one. The yellow one is rear-wheel drive. You see it's slightly different round the splitter. The rear-wheel drive one also comes on 19s, which is I think an inch smaller than the four-wheel drive one here. You get a little badge down here saying it's rear-wheel drive. You can just about see at the bottom there. Whereas if you get the four-wheel drive one, you don't get the little rear-wheel drive bit. So actually, you pay 30 grand less and you get a little bit more plastic. That's value for money, isn't it? Anyway, round the back, slightly different diffuser arrangement down there. It's got these kind of boxed in bits almost, whereas the four-wheel drive just looks a little bit racier and a little bit more whoa. So yeah, those are the cosmetic differences. There are some other differences as well. The rear-wheel drive doesn't have four-wheel steering, whereas the four-wheel drive has four-wheel steering as standard, which is always handy around town and helps with high-speed stability and all that jazz. In terms of weight, obviously the rear-wheel drive one is going to be lighter, but it's only lighter to the tune of 30 kilos, which for me is about a 20 box of nuggets and some pizzas. Now we should probably talk about the four-wheel drive one, the Huracan Evo. This is, yeah, you kind of common or garden one really. It's not the entry-level rear-wheel drive, but is the standard Huracan, and gets 5.2 litre 90-degree V10 like the rear-wheel drive, but here it's got the full 640 horsepower, 8,000 RPM, which is ludicrous. It sounds amazing out of these barely silenced exhaust pipes, and every single one of these Huracans is really effing loud. And I don't know how they've done it. I don't know if they've got particulate filters. I guess they must do for emissions, but they are noisy little bastards. Now, this one, 640 horsepower, as I said, 600 newton meters at 6,500 RPM. This will do 0 to 62 in 2.9 seconds and 9 seconds on the nose to 124. 7-speed dual clutch gearboxes on all of these, Haldex with mechanical limited slip diffs on the back axle across the board, and like I said, four-wheel drive gets four-wheel steer. They weigh 1.4 tons. This one's 30 kilos less than 1.4 tons, and that's pretty much it. Right, let's have a look. Let's go inside the Spider because it's got a funky yellow steering wheel. Oh, I forgot to mention these are all on adaptive dampers as well, magneto-logical ones. But anyway, here's the inside of a Huracan. This one I think is a fluo special edition, I think. So it's got all sorts of natty yellow bits on the steering wheel, which is quite 90s supercar, isn't it? And this one's got a smattering of forged carbon fibre, which I think we first saw on the Performante. There we go, look, forged composite on the air vents. lazy bastard. You get a digital dashboard, which is nice and clear and easy to read, and very helpfully today you can get a tyre temperature monitor up there so you can see how cold or hot your tyres are. These seats are probably the worst bit of the car, to be honest. They're just dead uncomfortable for me. I'm a reasonably large chap, but I feel like all the weight just goes on your perineum down there. I'll talk about that in the driving bit, and there's this lump in the back down here which just jabs you in the back. But I like the way you move them forward and back using this little lever here, which is metal and feels lovely, and you can adjust the height down there, and this little twiddly knob on these ones down there. Your driving mode selector is here, so they've all got Strada, Sport and Corsa. The STO's got some slightly different driving modes. Cruise control is on the steering wheel. Windscreen wipers, you operate using this little switch here, and your indicators over there, and you click them into cancel, like off of motorbikes, and you can flash your lights and everything. And that's pretty much it. You get this infotainment system in the middle. It's actually quite a nice touchscreen, and it's got Alexa and all sorts of stuff built into it. And the sound system in these is actually pretty good. Of all the Lamborghinis I've driven on this trip, I've driven some Aventadors as well, all of the sound systems are pretty fat. To put one of these into gear, you have to pull the paddle to get into drive, and then reverse is on that little lever there with manual park, handbrakes, window switches, and you've got a little bit for the key there, and some USB sockets. There's some other useful bits and pieces up there. Sorry, they're the window switches on the left and right there. This one here, there, is for the Spider. You can drop that rear window. So even if you've got the roof up, you can have lots of engine noise in the cabin. And your main window switches are up there. Nose lift is here, which is very helpful on some of these Scottish car parks. And that's pretty much it. It's a pretty straightforward place. It's not confusing, it's not intimidating, and the view out is actually pretty decent for a supercar. Right, anyway, let's hop in. I'm gonna jump in the regular four-wheel drive one actually, and go for a race down the road and tell you what it feels like. Right, I'm in a regular Huracan Evo four-wheel drive, what you probably think of as a common or garden Huracan. So I lift up this little flippy lid, protecting the start button, foot on the brake, and it fires up to life with an almighty yow. I'm just going to adjust the steering wheel. Visibility out of these is actually pretty good. You've got a semi-louvered rear window, but there's a clear bit in the middle. Mirrors are nice and big and easy to adjust using this thing here. And that's it really. To put it into gear, foot on the brake, pull back the paddle, and I'm in automatic mode. Right, let's go for a drive. I'm in sport mode. The engine is getting warm, so I'm just going to take it a little bit easy. But in automatic mode, in sport mode, it just does its own thing. Yeah, and you're immediately aware of the torque of that 5.2 litre V10. It is, I don't know, it's just nice to have something that is naturally aspirated again, yet still torquey. So it's not turbocharged torque, it's linear. And out of every corner, fifth gear up to 60 miles an hour, it just pushes you. It's a really lovely feeling. And the fact that this is basically your common Huracan, it feels mega. It feels really quite special, and a lot of it is because that engine is so tuneful and downshifts are so crisp, and because these gear shift paddles are made of metal, they are huge and they're affixed not to the wheels. They stay where they are. You can always hook them with your fingertips, even mid-corner. Do a little pinky hook and you can just be like according to my tyre temperature readout, the tyres on this car are currently -1 on the front axle, so I'm going to take it steady for a little bit, get some heat into them. I'm on the old military road up in Glenshee, one of the best roads in the world. Let's go and have some fun and see what the basic Huracan is about. And I'm cruising down here at 60-ish miles an hour, and there's a fair bit of tyre noise, mostly from the back axle, and also you've got a lot of engine noise as well. But it's not deafening. You could do long distances in this and you'd be fine if you work with the seats. Now the seats in this one's not so bad, but the one I was driving yesterday, it put all the weight on the base of your spine, and it was just felt really knackering and uncomfortable after a while. And there's a little lump that sticks out into the base of your spine, which just made me feel quite uncomfortable, which is a shame, because ergonomically, this is really good, really easy to drive. Got indicators on the steering wheel, got windscreen wipers on the steering wheel. There's nothing to distract you really, there's no head-up display. This is you, the road, and, well, let's wake the engine up a bit. Holy cow, haggis! It is properly rapid. in the most exciting of ways. It's fast in the mid-range because of that fat V10 torque, and it goes banshee at the top end, 8,500 RPM into the rev limiter. What an engine, and it just feels so special in this day and age when everything is turbocharged, everything is slugs of low down torque and nothing at the top end. This is magic. This engine is so different to the one in the R8 as well. It's so much louder, it feels rawer. I know it's based on the same thing, it is essentially the same thing, but Lamborghini does some magic to it that just Audi can't touch, frankly. That gearbox as well. Right, we're getting some twistier roads now. Tyres are still quite cold, let's do some heavy braking. Get some heat into those front brakes and the rims and the tyres. Wow, yeah, I'm afraid this is only a one GoPro angle because my other GoPro's died because it's so cold. The steering is precise, it's accurate, it's not Ferrari fast. It's quite a sensible rack, so when you turn to a corner it turns in exactly as much as you want. There's not a huge amount of feel through it, but you get quite a lot of feel through the tub of the car, and it feels like you've got confidence. Gives you confidence to drive quickly, even on cold tyres. And I'm also in the four-wheel drive one. The rear-wheel drive one has got a lot of traction, but you're always slightly on edge, and the stability control is good and it'll catch you. But I kind of don't want to be playful on the road in these things. I just want to grip and go and have a good time and make a lot of noise, and that's what this does very, very well. Hopefully you can hear me. The brakes, given those tyres are stone cold and colder than Olaf's ballsack, that is amazing. And yet when you just want to pooter, I'm going to pop that into Strada, the valves in the exhaust closed, and suddenly it's a whole lot quieter, and you can probably hear me, and I don't have to shout. So it's a proper Jekyll and Hyde car as well, and the ride is pretty good. Around town it can feel a little bit, you know, stiff and a little bit edgy, a little bit, I guess, brittle. If I was a car journalist, that's what I'd say. But it's a supercar. You come to expect some of that, and this is incredibly usable otherwise. It's not a pain in the arse to get in and out of. The doors are quite big, but that's it. You don't feel like you've got to bend double to get in. It's a lot easier to live with than a Lotus, and yeah, it just goes down roads really, really nicely. Now, if you put it in sport mode, you get ESC Sport, and that'll let you do little wiggles out of junctions, and you can feel the rear torque bias kicking in. So you do little bits of sideways action, little skids, and it's just very entertaining. And there's a Corsa mode, which I've not done on the road because that turns stability control off a little bit more, and it's so cold I don't really fancy binning this lovely, lovely car. Yeah, wheel spin in third gear. Yeah, in a car of this much performance, I do really like having that four-wheel drive system. There's rear bias most of the time, but it just avoids some of the wiggles and unexpected wobbles you get in the rear-wheel drive one. And you can just power out of corners with impunity. And that's as entertaining as going a little bit sideways, I think. Bloody hell. The only thing is, like every supercar, you sit so low it's hard to see over crests and hedges and other lorries that you want to overtake. So there are limitations to being this down low. And on most roads, I think I'd be faster in a Urus. God, I nearly jumped it. And that's the beauty. I'm just going along in fourth gear at 4,000 RPM. And you've still got so much grunt. It's that V10's torque. People don't talk about it enough. Not enough talk. Bad internet provider. Right, that's probably enough about driving the regular Huracan Evo. Let's go and try the silly one, the STO. What am I talking about? This is quite silly as well. This is very silly. Right, well that's us done with the regular Huracans. What about the range-topping Super Trofeo Omologato, or the road legal version of a race car? This is 260 grand, so it's about 60, 70 grand more than that one, and almost 100 grand more than the rear-wheel drive. And well, yeah, just look at it, frankly. If you want one of these, it's a more than 1 year wait list. It's got the same 640 horsepower V10 as the regular one, but it's only rear-wheel drive, so it's more power than the normal rear-wheel drive one. 0 to 60 in in 3 seconds, which is still pretty fast, isn't it? 565 newton-meters of torque this time. I think that 0 to 60 time is pretty impressive considering it's rear drive only. It's actually got the lowest top speed of any of these Huracans. It will only do 193 miles an hour. I guess that's because of gearing and aero changes, of which there are many. I mean, it's just a completely different body shell, isn't it, really? 75% of the outside of this is carbon fibre. You've got these big air intakes and rads down there. You've got this cut through snout, so there's no frunk on the STO. You get little frunk in these ones, or quite a big frunk actually. Shark fin there, this massive whopping air intake right over your head, feeding air down into the engine bay. 3-way manually adjustable wing. Yeah, and then the back end is just slightly aggressive, isn't it? You've got the louvered back end, like of Lamborghini supercars of yore. It's all about track dynamics and extreme supercar feeling. Part of the approach Lamborghini have taken to make this an awesome track car is putting new Brembo carbon ceramics on it. So although you can get carbon ceramics on the rest of the Huracan range, these are a special one, especially for this. And they've actually lengthened the brake pedal feel on this, more consistent feel and feedback on tracks. It's on Bridgestone Potenza Sports, the others is on Pirelli P0s, and the interior of this is a little bit silly as well. It is stripped out. It is bare bones. You've got carbon fibre everywhere. I mean, there's no carpets for a start. The seats, well, they're more yellowy, frankly, and it just feels utilitarian. You've got an Alcantara wheel, same gear shift paddles as in the regular one, these metal ones, but they're perfect and really easy to grab anyway. Switches down there, this one's got cruise control. The driving modes are different, I'll talk about that in the driving section, and it's got my camera bag in it. Carbon fibre door cards as well. It's just a wee bit ridiculous, and this one's got a camera there, which is presumably part of a track telematics pack. Right, this is it. I'm in the £260,000 Huracan Super Trofeo Omologato, and life is good! This feels very different to the regular Huracans. It is raw, it's hardcore. I'm having to shout because there's barely any sound deadening. I can't see out the rearview mirror because I've got that louvered engine cover behind me, and I can't work out how to make that mirror go up so it's not looking at the road. But anyway, the mirror thing doesn't really work properly. But it's all carbon fibre in here. I've got a 12 o'clock marker on the steering wheel. Same huge metal shift paddles as in a regular Huracan. And it is struggling for traction. Obviously it's rear wheel drive, so oh my god! You feel every tingle of that V10 through your bum, through your ears. It just invades every part of your being. Let's get some heat in, come on. Yeah, this is silly. A big part of this car is those new Brembo carbon ceramic brakes, and I mean, even at road speeds, they feel amazing. Wow. Yeah, I can't wait to get some proper twisties and feel what the front end feels like, but so far, this is a bloody experience. What a way to top the Huracan range. Big sideways in a straight line, it's cold. So I've got 3 driving modes in the STO. I've got STO, which is the normal one, Trofeo, which is the one for racetracks really. I was going to try that on the road, but given how sideways it just went in normal mode, I don't want to slacken the stability control off on the road. So yeah, sorry about that. And I've got Pioggia, which is basically a wet mode. And to be honest, I can see why you would need to rein things in when it gets slippery in this. Yeah, as well as giving you lots of feedback through your bum, it just feels very edgy and alive in a way that the regular Huracan doesn't quite do. The Huracan, the regular Evo, is a more livable thing than this, and if you want to use it every day, I'd probably recommend getting that and saving yourself close to £100,000. But yeah, I'll give more of a conclusion once I've done some of the twisty bits that I can see in front of me. Wow, what a thing. This Huracan STO, I think it feels as if Lamborghini's done a GT3 RS, but obviously it's got a sodding great V10. It's got torque everywhere. It is soulful, it sings to you, and you feel everything. I don't know about this just being the greatest Huracan. I think this is one of the greatest cars I've ever driven. Oh, the way the front end weights up in this, it's just telepathic, and I really can't push it because it's basically sheet ice on the road. But this, you feel everything. It feels sensational, and obviously when you put your foot down, you get that noise. Anyway, back to you, Tim, for some sort of conclusion.
As my time with the Huracans in the Highlands came to an end and my GoPros died like lemmings on a bouncy castle full of flick knives, I couldn't help but feel a little bit emotional. The STO is just that damn good. It's tactile, loud and hugely engaging, and it feels as if Lamborghini has resurrected its old school sense of lunacy but kind of forced it into this more modern package. The rear drive Huracan feels epically dramatic too, scrabbling for traction and keeping you on your toes in a vaguely more affordable package. But the regular four-wheel drive Huracan is the one I'd pick if I couldn't stretch to the STO. It provides all the supercar noise, drama, but combined with this all-weather usability, it makes it a Lamborghini for all seasons. I just wish they'd do something about those bloody seats. Thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned for a proper road trip with some V12 Lamborghinis thrown into the mix as well. That'll be up around Christmas time. See you soon.